A warm greeting. Today is Wednesday, September 6, 2023. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. In this video, I will be providing an update on the forecast for what is now Hurricane Lee, located to the east of the Caribbean and continuing to strengthen as it moves northwestward. It is projected to pass to the northeast of the Caribbean during the upcoming weekend, and although we are confident that the center of circulation will remain to the northeast of the Caribbean, there may be some indirect effects felt through the islands north of the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. In this visible satellite image, we can see how the structure of Hurricane Lee continues to improve. At 5 p.m., the National Hurricane Center classified this cyclone as a hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. If we zoom in on the infrared satellite image, you can see that it continues to generate strong thunderstorms near its center of circulation. Some wind shear has been affecting the circulation from the northeast and north. This wind shear will begin to decrease in the next few hours, which should allow for rapid strengthening, becoming an intense hurricane as it moves northeastward across the Caribbean over the weekend. Hurricane Lee has continued on the path forecasted by the National Hurricane Center, maintaining a west-northwestward movement over the last 24 to 48 hours. In fact, in the latest update, the National Hurricane Center mentioned that it took a slightly more northwestward turn, giving us more confidence that it should maintain this west-northwestward track and pass about 250 to 300 miles northeast of the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico. However, it's important for the islands north of the Lesser Antilles to remain vigilant about its evolution. In the event it takes a slightly more westward track, it could bring some tropical storm conditions to some of these islands. For Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, what is expected is a storm surge event and strong waves affecting the northern coasts of both countries. This could lead to coastal flooding and severe erosion along the northern coasts of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. There is still uncertainty about its future track beyond Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week because some models suggest a northward track over the Atlantic, while others suggest a slightly more westward track that could be of long-term interest to the eastern United States. The complexity of the situation arises when Hurricane Lee moves north of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and interacts with several high-pressure systems and troughs. For example, the European model for Sunday shows a strong high-pressure system over Bermuda but also a trough over the eastern United States. The European model predicts that the hurricane will move very slowly through this area. We must watch carefully to see if the first trough manages to turn the hurricane northward. If the first trough doesn't manage to steer the hurricane, another trough is expected to develop from the northeast of the United States in the middle of next week, likely forcing a northward movement. There are still many uncertainties in this forecast, as when that trough moves rapidly northeastward over the United States and Canada, during the weekend of September 15, it is possible that another high-pressure system could set up over the northeastern United States. There is still uncertainty about how close Hurricane Lee could approach the east coast of the United States. This is a forecast for more than 10 days out, and there is a lot of uncertainty about the exact effects it could have on the eastern United States. Although it is generally expected to eventually turn north-northeast and hopefully remain far from the United States coast, interests in the Bahamas should also monitor its westward movement during the weekend. These different scenarios can be seen in the ensemble members of the European model, where it indicates that starting on Saturday, it should have a general westward movement as it crosses north of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. In the afternoon today, we have some members bringing Hurricane Lee closer to the Bahamas, while the majority still indicate that it should turn north. We have various scenarios, and at the moment, we have more questions than answers. This is a long-term forecast, and it is normal to see this level of uncertainty. We will continue to monitor the forecast closely. Similarly, the ensemble members of the GFS model, although the majority indicate a northward turn towards Bermuda, some members are starting to show a westward movement that could be of interest to the Bahamas. However, this scenario is currently the least likely. At the very least, the National Hurricane Center's forecast extends for 5 days, which means until Monday afternoon. You can see that the projection generally maintains that it should have a west-northwestward movement, passing quite far from the Caribbean region. You can also see that the cone of uncertainty has moved further north this afternoon, so the chances of a direct impact at the moment are minimal. However, in the process of strengthening, by Friday afternoon, it is expected to be a Category 3 hurricane and will continue to strengthen to a Category 4 hurricane by Sunday night and Monday afternoon. At the moment, it cannot be ruled out that it may strengthen into a Category 5 hurricane. After Monday, it remains to be seen whether it takes a more westerly track towards the Bahamas or turns more northwestward and moves over the waters of the Atlantic without threatening the eastern United States. There is much uncertainty beyond 5 days, and we will continue to watch its progress closely over the next week. The intensity models continue to show rapid strengthening over the next 3 to 5 days, reaching a Category 4 or Category 5 hurricane when it is located just north of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Let's look at the runs of the global models. Here we have the projection from the GFS model. In its latest run, you can see that it maintains a northwestward track, passing very far from the Caribbean region during the weekend. We have seen some changes in the GFS model, with each run taking Hurricane Lee further away from the northeastern Caribbean region. Similarly, we have the European model with a very similar projection. However, the European model has a generally westward movement during the weekend and brings it a bit closer to the Bahamas before turning northward. The German model also agrees with this trajectory, passing hundreds of miles northeast of the Caribbean. Likewise, the Canadian and UK models. Since we are quite confident that there will be no direct impact on the northeastern Caribbean, I must mention that some indirect effects will be felt. At the moment, our main concern is the storm surge event and strong waves that may impact the northern Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic over the weekend, extending at least until Wednesday of next week. In the latest projection from the European model, you can see waves of 12 to 13 feet that may impact this region. Coastal erosion problems and some flooding along the northern coast are anticipated. Additionally, some unstable weather may affect us over the weekend and the beginning of next week. However, total rainfall accumulations at the moment remain between 1 to 3 inches. The heaviest rain should remain over the Atlantic waters. This is the projection from the GFS model. With the trajectory shown by the European model, you can see that it takes a more westward turn and comes a bit closer to the northeastern Caribbean. Nevertheless, what is expected is between 2 to 3 inches of rain over the weekend and the beginning of next week. We will be attentive to any westward shift closer to the northeastern Caribbean, which could bring more rainfall. At the moment, heavy rainfall is not expected to be a significant problem, and tropical storm and hurricane force winds should remain well northeast of the Caribbean. Currently, the possibility of experiencing gusts of tropical storm force winds is being ruled out. Here we have the projection from the GFS model, similar to the European model's projection, which, although a bit closer, still maintains tropical storm winds to the north of the Lesser Antilles and the Virgin Islands. It is always important to remain vigilant because any deviation a bit further south could bring gusts of tropical storm force winds affecting some islands in the Lesser Antilles. Well, that would be all for the update on the forecast for Hurricane Lee. Tomorrow morning, I will record a new video to update this forecast. I hope everyone has an excellent day.